Hey guys, this is Andy Strom, sales expert. Been in sales for a long time, over 15 years. $70 million in sales between myself and direct salesmen working for me. And I've got some things that I'd like to share with you. I was communicating with Dan about his program. I love it. I think it's amazing. And the framework that he's given you for sales is quite effective. So I just wanted to talk through that a little bit with you, give you some ideas about how to amplify that, make it even better, and as you practice that, and we're going to go ahead and dive in right now. So the social selling system, the key is the conversational sales, right? What we're doing is diagnostic sales. We're doing prescriptive sales. So we're like a doctor. We're listening for their problems. We're understanding what the solution is, and we're offering to help. A doctor is never ashamed to tell a customer, a client, a patient that hey, your solution is this $27,000 surgery, right? They don't ever bat an eye. Maybe that's not the only solution. Maybe it's just the one best thing, right? But a doctor listens and gives their client, their patient, the best thing that will help them in their situation. And we're really doing the same thing. So when we start out the call, when we're going in with a person that we haven't had a lot of interaction with, we want to do everything we can to have them talk about themselves, because people love to talk about themselves. Not only that, but when you are talking to them about them, they feel like you're a good listener. You are somebody that understands and pays attention to their needs. Nobody likes to deal with a salesperson that just talks, because what you come away with is the feeling that that salesperson's trying to push something on me. They don't know me. They don't know my situation. All they know is their own situation, their own product, and that doesn't convey that you're really trying to help them. So first things first, you need to start listening right up front, even before you get into the diagnostic part, because that first impression is a big deal, and it really helps solidify your position in their mind as the person that's helping. So start listening right up front. Once you've framed that conversation, you're diving into the meat of that call. There's a couple things that you can do to help make this as effective as possible, so that you're not ever losing opportunities. The first thing is stay assumptive. So you're going to use assumptive language because it's super impactful. I've had people literally change their entire year in terms of output because they tweaked that one aspect of sales. They went from saying things like, if you sign up with us today, this, and this will happen. They switched that to what? When you sign up with us today, this, and will happen. Why? Because that starts to change your client's mental state about what's happening today. They're going to start already picturing themselves working with you. They're already picturing those results taking place. They're picturing the success, and that's really what you want, so that when you ask for the sale, you're not going to get friction. You're going to get a yes. So you really want them picturing a successful outcome, and you don't do that with wishy-washy language. You don't do that with, maybe we'll be able to do this for you. You do that with, this is what I can do, and this is what we are going to do together, right? Solid, assumptive language. The second thing I want you to do is, while you're going through that middle part, listen for opportunities to kind of drop, think of them as like little seeds or anchors. So anchors in a sense of, if you're rock climbing, a rock climber normally, sometimes they do, they understand, but they normally don't climb a rock face without any anchors in the rock wall in case they fall. And those anchors, in the event that the rock climber falls, those anchors hold them right there on the wall instead of falling all the way down to their death, right? Those anchors, think about those as you're going through a sales conversation. You want to put little anchors in, so if something happens and that person doesn't want to buy right away, you have something to fall back on. Now here's how that looks in practice. You want to drop little thoughts in their mind during that conversation that you can go back to in the event that you need to, but only if you need to. Like, you're having a conversation with somebody about, let's just call it lead gen, right? Something a lot of us have heard of and know about. And boom, something they say reminds you of a client that you've been able to be very successful with. You don't want to tell them the whole client story, because that's not about the individual you're speaking with. What you want to do is just drop that little anchor right there by mentioning something about a success story similar to theirs, right? Hey, yeah, I actually worked with a client very similar to you, and we had some incredible success implementing some of the strategies that I helped them with. I really think that this will work for you too. And then just keep going. You don't have to oversell that. You don't have to discuss what that situation was or what those strategies were. Nothing. Just touch on it, that there's somebody like you who's had success doing what I'm offering, right? And then, you can further down the road, another opportunity to drop that anchor or to touch, on that is if they mention something that one of your services or programs or products features is really going to help. You don't have to oversell that. You can just touch on it so that later, if you need to go back to it, you can. And it sounds like, wow, yeah, I love that you said that, because there's something very specific that I do to help my clients overcome that very specific situation. So I know for a fact that we can certainly make some progress together. And then just keep going with the conversation. You don't have to go explain that. You don't have to go into it in tons of detail. And the reason why you're doing those little things is you're building confidence along the way with your potential client, that you know what you're doing. You've done this before. People just like them have been successful. And you're not over clouding the conversation with other people's situations and with the things that you want to talk about. Because what are we supposed to be doing? Listening. Because they want the conversation to be about them. Now, if you get to the end of the process, you've described your program, you've pitched it, and finally you've given them the price and said, hey, this will be $7,500 a month. Are we going to be setting this up, and are you going to be seeing this success in your business, or whatever you want? If they sit there and they're like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. I'll have to think about it, blah, 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 blah. Now you have something to go back to, right? So first, find out, are they interested in that situation? Are you interested in this? Is this something that you think might help you? Yes. Okay. So let's talk about this. And then you remember I mentioned this thing that I said would be really impactful for you. Let me elaborate on that a little bit. Let me explain why that's going to be so impactful for you. Now go back and flesh that out with more detail. Once you've done that, only one of those anchor points go back to. Don't hit them all. Do not go over everything, because what happens if you pull all your anchors at once? Like, you've got nothing else to fall back on, right? One thing. Hit that one thing, explain that, flesh it out, and say, at the end of that explanation, is this something that makes sense to you? Yes. Why don't we go ahead and get this taken care of? I'll make it easy for you to get started. Go ahead and get out your credit card or whatever you're going to do, whatever your payment process is. Let me go ahead and send you the invoice, and we'll get this taken care of for you, right? You're still assumptive. You're still being a problem solver. You're helping them, and you haven't been a pushy salesperson. All you've done is point out the ways that you can help, and you relied on those anchors at the end to get you through. And then the third thing I wanted to touch on was the closing process. Once you've gotten through everything, you've pitched it, and guys, it takes practice. All right? You're never going to be an expert salesperson on the first call. You're not, right? Like, if you're building websites, the first website wasn't going to be the best thing you ever built, right? If you're doing client outreach, the first set of leads that you generated may not have been the highest quality leads, right? So the whole concept is it takes practice, but with sales you can practice without having to kind of practice on your potential clients. Hit your friends up, your mom, whatever, right? Just run through some fake sales calls, give them some situations that you might struggle with so that you can get some reps in as a bonus. So when you get to the closing, part, just a couple of things you want to keep in mind. I like to think of it as Plinko, right? If you've ever seen that old game, it's like a board with a bunch of little pegs in it, and you drop the disc in at the top and it bounces down to the bottom, right? And the bottom is $10,000 or whatever. When you're at the closing portion, you want to kind of think of the conversation as Plinko. You're starting at the top and you want to kind of bounce around to whatever they're hitting on, but you always want to end up in the same place. And where's that? The sale, right? How are we going to get there? So you asked for the sale. If they say yes, like, dude, money, right? Send them the invoice, ship it. If they say, like, hey, I just have some questions about how this works, don't freak out, right? They're not saying no. What they're doing is just getting clarity before moving forward. So your mental state has to be assuming that they're buying, answer those questions, just keep rolling. If they're like, hey, I don't know, maybe wishy-washy, right? What did I say? Just hit them right up front with it. Are you interested? That way you've got some clarity and you can deal with it one way or the other. If they have something in the way, like they don't have the ability to move forward until a future date, or they may not have enough money today to do it, something like that, just become a problem solver, right? If you've got a system or a product or a whatever that can be taken apart into pieces, maybe offer a piece as the solution, right? And then finally, if they're objecting, if they're saying no because this, now, that's where most people think of as sales. All that other stuff people don't think about when they think about sales all the time. But when somebody says no and you've got to have that conversation with the client, that's when salesmanship comes into play in most people's minds. But really, you're going to have a percentage that are going to say no matter what. And you've got to have the mental state to understand that's okay, right? You separate yourself from the result so that you're not feeling like a loser. If you don't sell it, you're going to get a certain amount of no's no matter what. Instead, rely on those anchors, the things that we talked about, so that you've got a plan, you've got a strategy, you've got a system. If they say no because this, hey, I definitely understand that you feel the price is high. Let's talk about what you would get for that money and why that would be so worthwhile for you. Then explain how you deliver multiples on the money, right? Or explain how this isn't something that's going to impact them just today or next month. This is something that's a lifelong impact, or whatever that thing is that's showing them that the cost is minimized compared to the result, compared to what they're getting, right? Whatever that one thing is they said no because of, give them one really good reason why, hey, I understand that concern. Here's why I'm not afraid to still offer you my product, because I think this is the perfect fit for you. Convince them with your certainty, not with too many words. When you go into too many words, you sound desperate, you sound like you're not listening. But when you're certain that this is the right approach for them, and I really want you to have the benefit of working with me, here's why. Don't you think we should be working together and solving that problem? Let's go ahead and get that started. I'll send you the invoice, right? Boom. And you just ask. Most successful salespeople ask for the sale more than one time on average. And some people don't want to feel pushy. They feel like if they asked once, that's enough. The reality, though, is if you want to be successful at whatever you're doing, you need to ask for the sale. And you need to do it until you've got absolute certainty that you and that client are not working together yet, right? Yet. So you want to build people that even if they say no, they're impressed with what you had to offer, with the conversation, with the whole process. So if they ever see somebody or know somebody that would benefit from that, what are they going to do? They're going to refer them to you. So that's a few tips to apply to this system that Dan put together. It's a spectacular system. It is an effective system to help you close some big deals, high ticket deals on that system. That framework will work. So if you ever have any questions about sales, hit up myself, Andy Strom, hit up Dan, and just let us know what's going on, and we would love to help you out and help you through those situations. But I just wanted to drop a video giving you a little bit of my expertise in helping you, get over the hump and start to close some big sales. So good luck, and I hope you've enjoyed it.